everyone, for this video I will be building an Imperial landing pad on Scarif. I've taken a bit of a big break from building. I've been focusing on reviews and doing top 10s, but it's finally time to do another building video again, especially with the Imperials. And the reason why I've been kind of waiting is because I've waited for the opportunity to build up my Imperial armies. I recently got the Imperial dropship and Rebel Scout Speeder battle pack, conjoined pack. So that one came with 3 extra stormtroopers, which I desperately needed for my army. And then I've also gotten a Star Destroyer, which came with a couple of Imperial officers that I can use, and of course a TIE bomber for the Imperial landing pad. So I was waiting to gather all these resources to finally build this mock, and I've very excited because I love the planet Scarif and I love Rogue One, and I really love the scenery, and I feel like I have enough pieces in this category of, a beach with some grass elements. So I'm very excited to tackle this Imperial landing pad, and I'm hoping to do more original trilogy type mocks in the future. Without further ado, let's get building. For this Imperial landing pad, I decided to do 2 base plates, and then I would put the pad in the middle. So I started with a layout of placing tiles, and I was really trying to see how big it needed to be to, of course, fit the TIE bomber. So I expanded it a little bit. So I had it split into 2 sections, with the right section to be the TIE bomber, and I placed a couple of white tiles to signify like the landing area for the TIE bomber, and then the left side would be where I would put a bunch of crates, supplies, and consoles for officers or stormtroopers to use for the landing pad. And once that was all laid out, it was time to tile off the right side to sit the TIE bomber. Once the right side was done, it was time to tile off the left side. For the left side, since there will be actual minifigures and all sorts of storage units to be placed there, I put a bunch of more plates with studs on them so they can stand on, rather than the right side being mostly tiled off for the TIE bomber to just sit on. Rather than just randomly placing plates, I did a little bit of both, with doing a little bit of structure for where I wanted the crates and consoles to be at, and then I layered some plates around for where minifigures could just stand. And then I wanted to do a little outside part of the landing pad as well, kind of leading to, an Imperial base on Scarif. So I decided to make that part partially dark bluish gray to signify that that is where the base is. And once everything was tiled off, it was time to put all the consoles and containers on the landing pad. And I also put some fuel canisters on the right side for the TIE bomber. And then I had also built a small little bridge leading to what could be another landing pad for the Imperial base, because I kind of took some inspiration from Battlefront, where there was like a walkway over a small river to another section of the landing pad. So I then started placing the river and put the bridge over it. It was time to add in some landscape, so I went ahead and placed some dark tan plates around the river, and then added tan plates around that for the beach area. Mixed in some plates and tiles for the sand for some smoothness and roughness, and I did that around the entire river. Building rivers and then doing like the wet sand and regular sand is always one of my favorite things to do. It just looks so satisfying to me, and I really love the aesthetic as well. Once that full river section on the right side of the mock was finished, it was time to tile off the rest of the base plates with sand, as that is the main landscape of Scarif. And then I went ahead and did another river section on the opposite side and did the same thing, where I tiled dark tan and then tan around it for the wet and regular sand. I finished putting all the tan plates down, mixing plates and tiles. Scarif has a couple of plant patches as well, so I went ahead and placed some green plates down on 2 different sections of the mock. And then I filled them out with pretty much every plant piece I had, and I was just mixing and matching with some of the 3 stemmed leaf pieces or the 3 big really leaf pieces, and I wanted to make sure pretty much every stud in the middle was covered up for the plant section. And then with everything done, it was time to place the TIE bomber and all the Imperial minifigures for this landing pad. And here is the finished Imperial landing pad on Scarif. I'm actually very happy on how it came out. I've had the idea of building a landing pad for a while now, so to finally do it is definitely an accomplishment for me. And recently, I've really started to love the original trilogy era. I've always been a bigger Clone Wars fan. Most of my collection is Clone Wars, but now I'm really starting to get more original trilogy sets. So I'm really starting to love this era more, and after building this MOC, I now want to build more in this era. So starting off here on the left side of the MOC, here is where all the crates are, and then with one of the consoles, this is a pretty old piece in Lego. This is just a console for anyone to use. And then the two consoles over here are actually from the recent Star Destroyer. I simply just took them out and placed them here on these two bricks, and then I'll put them right back in the Star Destroyer once I'm done, but this definitely was a good use of them, and I have an Imperial officer using this one over here, you know, maybe assessing some supplies that they have and all sorts of things. And then I put a bunch of these crates that came in the Clone versus Droid battle pack, and of course, since they are Imperial, you know, they're not going to be unorganized like that. This is the Empire at the end of the day. This specific one does have the Imperial Arabesh on each side with the symbol. That one is from the Star Destroyer, but I didn't have enough. But these are pretty much the same thing, with this one just having some printing. And then I put some stormtroopers simply just walking through these supplies. And then back here are two stormtroopers simply just standing guard, you know how Imperials do. Moving on to the front of the landing pad, you can see the dark bluish gray tiles that I planted down, kind of like a walk path towards the base. And then on each side are a little bit of fortifications and, you know, just showing the boundaries of the landing pad itself. And then here in the middle are simply two stormtroopers, probably just on a patrol or going to an assignment, but, you know, these stormtroopers are just talking to each other, walking with each other to wherever they need to go. And then here on the right side of the landing pad is the main attraction, and really the main idea as this landing pad is the TIE bomber. And then here is the TIE pilot walking to the pilot seat for the TIE bomber. And I found this piece in my collection. I quite don't really know what it is or where it came from, but it simply just sits right there on the TIE bomber, and it's the perfect height too, and you know, it looks like a ladder as well. So this was definitely a perfect piece that I had, and it really worked out fine. Back there are the two fuel canisters to fuel the TIE bomber. I moved them back there. I think they fit better to where they can plant into the TIE bomber. And then here's a closer look at all the greenery in Scarif. I used pretty much 4 different plant pieces, with the 3 stemmed, the really big leaf ones, and these small leaf pieces as well. And then the small, like 3 stemmed as well. So definitely looks very nice for the greenery, and I really wanted to add different kind of variations to make some awesome combinations and to really pop out in, you know, this mainly beach landscape. And then, like all rivers that I build, I put some clear studs, some clear slopes around the line of the river just to show some waves and to add some extra coloring to the river itself. And I definitely do think it looks really good. And I did the same thing for this big river here. I pretty much evenly spaced them out the whole way. And then here is the bridge connecting both landing platforms and over the river as well. So definitely a very nice touch, and I'm glad I added that. Definitely adds some more depth to the landing pad. There is another section of green foliage for the grassy areas, and this one I had stacked up a bunch of leaf pieces as well to sprinkle them throughout, and I definitely think it makes it pop. I'm very happy on how this landing pad came out. Definitely what I had in mind, and I had just the right amount of pieces to do it. And in the future, I definitely want to build a bigger Imperial structure, whether it be a base or anything like that. Anyways, that was the video. I had a very fun experience building this Imperial landing pad. It definitely has been a while since I've last built, I think a month now. So definitely was nice getting back into it. Lightsaber slash that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already so you do not miss any more Lego Star Wars content. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.